guys, this is Debbie.
And this is Garu.
And this is Hats Off. I'm trying to start with some little more informal vlogs. At least this one, we're talking today about Baby Driver. Because this is
so good.
This movie is going to be one of my favorite movies of all time. Possibly, I think we may do Drive soon, because that is one of my favorite movies, and I have a lot to say about it. So I think we may do a vlog about it, because I'm too excited to wait to do a scripted episode. But anyway, yeah,
so good.
If you haven't seen this movie, why haven't you seen this movie? It's amazing.
No, it's fantastic. If you can see it in the theaters, see it in the theaters. That's what it was kind of designed for.
Yeah.
It is worth it. It's hard to tell what it's about based on the title, and I will freely admit I didn't see any previews for it before we went to see it.
I did.
Yeah, she did. I didn't see any previews for it at all. I just knew it was an Edgar Wright film, and I love Edgar Wright movies.
Yeah.
But, yeah, that was about it there.
Yeah, and I having seen the preview, was super excited. And also that it's an Edgar Wright movie, and it lived up to everything and was so much more.
Yeah, it was so right. So right.
Yeah, it's great. If you haven't seen it, it's amazing. We just saw it for the second time today, and it rewards rewatching. I very rarely have any desire to see a movie multiple times in the theater, and this one I really wanted to. I can go on and on and on, and I will. Ansel Elgort is awesome and charming as hell.
He is made of charm.
Yeah. I love him. I want to see two things. I want to see Drive, which, again, we'll talk about that soon. I also want to see...
Fault in Our Stars?
Yes.
Yeah. Yes.
Because, again, he is made of charm. He hasn't seen it.
I saw Drive. I didn't see Fault in Our Stars.
Yes. And it's that movie is great.
Of course, I've seen Drive. I'm not a monster.
Of course. Yes, let me be very clear. He has seen Drive.
Yes.
He does very much enjoy Drive. Not as much as I do.
But I do like it a lot.
Yeah. And if you haven't seen that movie, why haven't you seen that movie? See that movie.
Yeah.
That movie's amazing. It's, again, my heart. Little piece of me. Anyway, but yes, Ansel Elgort is amazing. Very subtle performance. He talks very little. I mean, that's a major part of his character. But his performance is almost exclusively physical in this movie. And it's incredibly nuanced. His performance rewards multiple viewings. I was picking up on more things and more depth and more bits in this movie than even the first time we saw it, and it just made me love the character all the more. The other standout of this movie is Jon Hamm.
Oh, so good.
And I've liked Jon Hamm. Jon Hamm brings a joy in everything I've seen him in, and I haven't seen him in that many things. I tried watching Mad Men, not a fan. And he's been in little parts here and there and other things. And he always brings this joy of what he's doing to the screen, and he's always enjoyable on screen to watch. But here, this performance is beautiful and amazing, and
you know how sometimes you get to see what an actor is really capable of? This is what it is. It's one of those, you watch this and you say, you know what, Jon Hamm could do anything. Yeah. Because he did that role, and he did it so well.
Yeah. It's there are so many layers to this, and the movie does a hard left turn at about the third act point.
Yeah.
Also, see what I did there? Hard left turn, driving.
Driving again.
And with his character specifically, which I won't go into until we hit the spoilers. But it gave me a whole new respect for John Hamm. I have a new love for him in this movie. He's great. Should also mention, this is Jamie Foxx, like you've never seen him.
Yeah, Jamie Foxx just keeps turning in these amazing performances that you don't expect from a guy who was, he was a comedic actor who just somehow jumped into drama with both feet and has not looked back, and it's amazing.
And he is unmitigatedly, I mean, it's not a spoiler to say this is a bad guy. There's a number of not great people in this movie, but this guy is a monster. Like, unequivocally, you can tell almost immediately that he is a monster.
Yep.
And, yeah, this is a whole different turn than anything you've seen him do before, and it's damn impressive. Mm-hmm. He's great. It goes without saying that Kevin Spacey is phenomenal, because of course he is. He's
Kevin Spacey. He will always be phenomenal.
Yeah.
I haven't seen 9 Lives, but I'm pretty sure that he turned in a tour de force performance in a stupid movie about turning into a cat.
Oh, undoubtedly.
Yeah, Kevin Spacey doesn't leave anything on the table when he comes into act.
Yeah. He is great here. He's subtle. He has an unexpected turn in the movie as well, which we won't talk about because it's great, and I'll leave that for you to see and enjoy.
Yeah.
But he's totally worth seeing. I mean, of course. The love interest, whose name...
Lily James.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
I liked her, and she doesn't stand out in this movie. And mind you, she's very good. This is not in any way to discredit her performance, because it's a very good, very subtle performance. But it's, compared to the other performances in this movie, it's very subdued.
See, I kind of like that because she is the grounding element for Baby.
Fair.
She is essentially, while everybody else in his life is a chaotic mess, she is this very solid anchor without necessarily having to be the perfect girl that is going to take him away from this or, get ready to settle down or anything like that. She is a character in her own right, but because she is so restrained, her emotions are present and are palpable, but she doesn't have to throw all of them out onto the screen. You can see it on her face, in her movements, in her delivery. And I kind of like that she is able to rein in Baby and be this... What he likes about her is that she starts off as ethereal, but it's very clear that she is actually a very grounded, earthy person. Oh,
agreed. Absolutely agreed. And I'm not saying that as a bad thing, is the fact that her performance, I only say that does not come across as much of a standout as the others that I just mentioned, because the other performances are so very over the top.
Yeah.
And they will tend to draw your attention more than hers, because hers is so grounded. But again, it's a good thing. It's something needed in the movie, because this is a movie with a lot of larger than life characters, and you need someone to stay close to the ground.
Yeah. It's if anything, it's kind of what Scott Pilgrim was missing.
Fair. Yeah.
I don't get me wrong. I love Scott Pilgrim, but Scott Pilgrim, maybe his sister might be considered a stabilizing element, but for the most part, everybody is over the top, and as a result, it comes out very hard to pinpoint a lot in that movie.
Yeah. Yeah, there's everything's crazy in that movie.
Yeah.
And I like Scott Pilgrim okay. It's good. It's fun.
Yeah. It's also the difference between, like, Hot Fuzz and The World's End, where The World's End has a lot of those grounding elements to it.
Yeah.
Whereas Hot Fuzz is almost everybody sort of over the top in it. And, I'm just using other Edgar Wright movies to compare here.
Sure.
And I think, as much as Hot Fuzz is probably my favorite of the Cornetto trilogy, I will admit that World's End is probably a better film because it has those grounding elements that makes Gary's sort of desperation so palpable.
Yeah.
Because you see him wanting to be the cartoon character that Nick Angel is, or that Shaun, what's his name? I can't even remember his last name is.
Shaun of the Dead.
Yeah, Shaun from Shaun of the Dead. Yeah, these other Simon Pegg roles. And, Gary is continually smacked back down to earth as a reminder that he is not the king anymore, name aside. And the same way, Baby is brought down to earth where he wants to be.
Yeah.
Baby desperately wants to be a part of the world instead of a part of this criminal world, which I'll get into later is basically hell.
Interesting theory. We'll get there.
And she is not an angel, but a person that can raise him up out of hell and back into the world because she is so grounded. Yeah.
Also, in that vein, is also his foster father. Mm-hmm. And I love this movie because it humanizes Baby very, very much. And it becomes, it's almost immediately obvious that Baby doesn't belong in this world.
Yeah.
Baby's far too decent a person for the world, the criminal world.
Yeah.
Criminal underworld, I should say.
That's why Doc has to continually remind people of what he is and who he is. Yeah. Doc is always making excuses for him being there.
Yeah. And there's a wonderful scene, well, multiple wonderful scenes with his foster father, which, side note, his foster father's deaf. And so it adds to the fact that Baby has his earbuds in most of the time in the movie. And including at points when Doc is, giving the mission layout and talking about what they're going to do and whatnot. And it's never commented upon particularly, but Baby reads lips. Because he's fluent in sign language. Yeah. And so he knows how to read lips. So he doesn't have to hear. He doesn't need to hear. He reads lips, and he has tinnitus. So he has hearing impairment on top of that anyway. Yeah. And the wonderful scenes with his foster father are, his foster father is deaf, and he's a great deaf actor. And I loved this guy. This guy is also incredibly charming and appealing, and love the character. And the actor just put such heart into it. And he's observing from the sidelines, and he's not stupid.
Yeah, he knows what Baby does for a living.
Yeah, he gets it, and he doesn't like it because he cares about Baby, and he knows that Baby doesn't belong in this world. And so much here is said, is implied without being said, I should say. Again, this movie is masterfully does show, don't tell. Mm-hmm. There's so much here that's shown and not told. Clearly, Baby wants to be a DJ. It becomes a plot point the fact that he records these conversations that he has with not just Doc's group, but that's part of it. And he takes them and he remixes them into songs. And you hear one or two, which, by the way, Edgar Wright, please make some more of those. Those are awesome.
Yeah, I want to hear Mozart in a go-kart.
Yes.
That was one of... Yes. He names all of them. You see, all of his cassette tapes, and one of them is Mozart in a go-kart. I'm like, I want to hear that one. Yeah. That sounds great.
Yeah, this all looks very fun. Yeah. I love that. So that's a great... It's a grounding element, and it adds heart, and it's just, there's some little bits of this movie is so joyful. There's so much joy and sincerity in this movie,
which sort of makes up for the fact that it's also a very dense film. There is
Yeah.
a lot going on,
and very dark.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's a dark film. It's very dense. There's a lot going on symbolically. There's a
Yeah.
lot going on visually. There's a lot going on with the soundtrack, and
Yeah.
not just the fact that so much of the movie is synced almost entirely with the soundtrack, which is both diegetic and non-diegetic at the same time.
Yeah.
There's so much going on, but the fact that it is such a fun movie and that these characters are just such a joy to be with makes it balances out the fact that there's also so much going on, and it can be really, really dark at times.
Yeah, and I keep hearing people say that this is like a jukebox musical, and it is. It's got car chases instead of songs. So this is, not only is this a jukebox musical, it's a love letter to the great car chase movies of the past. French Connection, Bullet. What was the one that Film Brain mentioned? The Driver?
Yeah, The Driver.
At which now I definitely feel the need to see.
The original, and to a lesser extent, Italian Job, the remake of the Italian Job.
Fair.
With the Mini Cooper chases, both of them.
Fair.
You could see some of that influence, particularly the original one, in this. Especially when he's doing stunts that are stunty. I mean, it's clearly not just regular driving.
Yeah.
But it's also not so over the top as to be ridiculous.
Yeah.
Nobody is jumping buildings in cars.
Yeah.
I love the Fast and the Furious movies, but those are superhero movies where their powers are all driving.
Yeah.
Superhuman driving.
Yeah.
And this is not that.
Yeah. Yeah. This is, again, it's grounded enough.
Yeah.
It's to a certain degree, it's a fairy tale, but it's grounded where it needs to be.
Yeah. The fairy tale elements are very much the love story aspects of it.
Yeah.
That's where you see the fairy tale elements and the things that don't quite fit with reality, because this love story is so out of Baby's experience that it feels to him like something that you see on TV. Whereas, the car chases and the crimes are just his life.
Well, and let's be honest too. They never tell you how old Baby is, but I would guess he's maybe 19.
Maybe, yeah.
And something like that. And
it's however old he would be to start boosting cars.
Well, Doc says he's been boosting cars
for
since
10 years
since he was old enough to see over the dash.
Exactly. So if he's 19, that would mean that he was the Spirit of 85 at 9 years old.
Fair. Which, if he's a decently tall guy, I could see that.
6'4".
Yeah.
When he was doing the
yeah.
Not going to ruin it, but
Yeah.
At one point you actually do see his height.
Yeah.
Because I made note of that this time around, like, okay.
Yeah.
Ansel Elgort is taller than I thought he was.
Yeah. Fair. But so I believe he's been boosting cars since he was 9. So at most he's 21, 22. Which the reason I mention his age is this is also very much feels like falling in love for real for the first time. And that's usually about the age you do it.
Yeah.
Is, 18 to 22. That's usually when, and that's how it feels. That's how falling in love the first time feels. It's so amazing, and so Love is Blind, and all the things, Romeo and Juliet, and all these things that...
Which they reference at one point.
They do.
Yep.
They do. Not in the way you expect. Believe me.
Yeah.
But it feels so otherworldly that it does feel like a fairy tale. And I love that, and I suspect it's for her too. I suspect for Deborah this is this is also her first time really falling in love.
Yeah.
And her character is grounded, but at the same time, she's also not of this earth. She and Baby very much connect with music. They feel the same way about music. They both feel the same way about music. Hey, Sammy. Gotta get, the cats in here.
Yeah, and when you see them together, that's when it really takes on the fairy tale aspect of it.
Yeah.
Where things start to get a little unreal. There's this wonderful scene in a laundromat where the laundromat is all in blue, and all of the dryers are going, and each one has only one color in it, and it's a predictable pattern. This is clearly not a real place.
Yeah.
But that unreality is reflective of what they are feeling as characters toward one another as their love is sort of starting to grow, and it feels more like a musical, for lack of a better term.
Yeah, but at the same time, again, going back to this finds such perfect balance of the groundedness, their characters, the experience of the two of them falling in love is completely believable.
Yeah.
They have perfect chemistry, and you've either experienced this or people who have experienced this. Mm-hmm. And it feels so lived in and so real, and I love that. Again, jumping all over the place. I've got a lot to say about color theory, which we'll get into in a little bit. But the fact of the soundtrack is very much another character in this film, and as mentioned, it's diegetic and non-diegetic both. And I was noticing this time around especially, the more the action revs up, the more the music becomes diegetic.
Yeah.
And it goes from being, it's almost like, it goes from being, a lot of this is what's in Baby's head, and it goes from being in Baby's head to everything around him.
Yeah. And
I love it. I can keep, again, I can gush and gush and gush and gush and gush. But it's so, this movie is so well made. The just doom, to doom, to doom, to doom, to doom, the way it hits. And it's all genres of music. It's a lot of music that I had not heard before. I'm not a music, I don't know, I'm not a music nut. I'm a movie nut, not a music nut. So a lot of this I hadn't heard before. And it was very unique and different choices, and not expected choices either. You never hear a song, there's never a song in here that, like, oh yeah, I would have put that song there.
Yeah.
Like, there's a Barry White song in here, and it's not used in a love text context, or a love song context at all.
Yeah, I think Baby intended it to be, and then things went awry that I'm not going to get into.
Yeah.
Because I really do, we're really trying to prevent too many spoilers on this. But yeah, and literally at one point, I think Baby meant this to be a love song context, and then things went awry, and it takes on a completely different meaning.
Yeah, if you listen very carefully to the soundtrack, because anytime a song is played, it informs the emotional tone, or it signals the emotional tone.
Yeah, or it's commenting on the scene.
Yes.
At one point, Baby does not want to be part of a job, and he's driving with the rest of his crew, and the song that's playing and one of the other crew is singing it is "Got nowhere to run to, baby.
Yeah.
Nowhere to hide." It's, it literally is just commenting on exactly what's going on.
Yeah. But it's not thrown in your face. It's the music that happens to be on the radio.
Yeah, it just kind of works out, and it's partially because Baby is really good at creating a soundtrack for his life.
Yeah.
But it's also partially because Wright knows what he's doing.
Yeah.
I wish there was more I could say on that, but it's just
Yeah.
Edgar Wright knows what he's doing.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I did want to mention, earlier we were talking about the Coronado trilogy. I forgot to mention the fact that I am the opposite, because I like Hot Fuzz pretty well, but The World's End is my favorite of the Coronado trilogy. Mm-hmm. So it's differences in our taste.
Yeah.
Anyway. But, I suppose... I'm trying to think. I have so many thoughts. My thoughts are just all over about this. I suppose we should go into spoilers.
Yeah, let's go into spoilers. We will try to keep them as light as possible.
Yeah.
But in order to comment on the film, there are some things we're going to have to reveal.
Yeah.
So we'll try, like I said, we'll try to keep the big twists under wraps, but just a couple of things we'll mention.
Spoilers!
Are we bringing that over to here now?
Of course.
Spoilers! Hey, you do it on the other ones. Alright, so spoilers from here on out. So, my first thing, and I just noticed it this time around, is that elevators and elevation play a major part in this film, particularly surrounding the character of Doc, who is essentially Virgil from the Divine Comedy, and their lair is hell. The top level, where they do all their planning, is a kind of stark, mostly empty room that is limbo. At the end of a job, you see them get into an elevator, and Doc presses 3 buttons each time. While every one of his crews is always different, there are certain elements to all of them.
Except Baby.
Except Baby. Baby is all in all of them, but otherwise he never puts together the exact same crew at the exact same time. There are ones that are essentially staples. You have, Baby is the wheelman. You have one guy who tends to be crazy over the top. And then you have 2 sort of more grounded people that just want to get the job done. So if we assume that the top level is limbo, then we start getting into the levels. There are 9 of them. The crazy violent person is led off at what would be level 7, which is either John Bernthal or Jamie Foxx's character, which is the circle of hell for violence. The characters who are let off, Buddy and Darling, are let off on level 8, which is for fraud, and at one point we find out that Buddy used to work for Wall Street, and possibly was involved in, what's the word I'm looking for?
Embezzlement?
Embezzlement, thank you. And then, of course, the bottom one, which Doc and Baby always get off on, is treachery. And there's a lot of ways that you can look at this. One of them being that Doc pretends in limbo that Baby gets the same cut as everybody else, but Baby owes him money.
Yeah.
So as a result, he ends up taking Baby's money back once they get there, for all intents and purposes betraying him, even though Baby does the thing, and giving him just 1 stack each time of cash. Also, Baby is consistently looking for an not consistently, but basically at one point starts looking for an opportunity to betray Doc, because Doc brought him in against his will after he had finished paying Doc off. And then finally there's the fact that Doc really does turn on people for good reasons, but he does turn on them and has a number of heel and face turns throughout the film.
Well, I do want to comment on, I disagree that Baby is looking for a way to betray Doc.
He purposely tries to sneak out of a mission that he was the one that he could have just had disappear.
Yes, but part of the major part of this is the fact that Baby is an unknown element to all these other criminals, including Doc, might I add. Like, Doc thinks he knows Baby, but he doesn't. And they all assume that he is, that he thinks he's better than them, which he doesn't. He just wants to be left alone.
I'm pretty sure Baby thinks he's better than them. He doesn't consider himself a criminal. He is one, but I don't think he considers himself one.
I disagree with that.
Okay.
I disagree with that, not least of which is because he says to Deborah, he's like, you're too good for me.
Yes, good point. Oh, yeah, that's right. Yeah, so no, he doesn't.
No, I think Baby is plenty aware of his own fallibility. And I think that all he wants is out.
Fair, yeah.
And his silence is so bothersome to these other criminals, but it's completely because of it makes them think, and it's completely them projecting their own guilt onto him.
Okay.
Like, Baby's not gonna talk. Baby has zero desire to go to the cops about any of this.
Agreed, yeah.
Baby just wants out. And no, I think Doc would see this as a betrayal, but Baby does not see this as a betrayal.
Fair. Doc does, however, betray Baby in the sense that, he basically allows Baby to think that he's out and then forces him back in. But again, Doc is constantly doing heel and face turns throughout this movie, and it's hard to pinpoint him as a result.
Which
I like that, actually.
I agreed. I disagree with that a little bit too, because I think that says more about Baby's naivete rather than Doc's character, because Doc is very careful to say,
we're straight, we're not dumb.
yes.
Right?
Yes.
Kids, cut it out.
Welcome to our household. And I think it was Doc was trying to make clear to Baby that he never meant that he wasn't gonna let him be done.
Yeah.
And I don't think, and again, I think it's the fact that Doc thinks he knows Baby. And he really doesn't.
Doc is consistent. Doc thinks you're going to make a lot of money is something that will entice Baby to keep doing this, where Baby does not care about money.
Yeah.
It's just not an important thing to him.
Yeah. Doc is motivated by greed. Baby isn't.
Yeah.
And this is a fundamental difference between them. And I think that's what, in the end, the final word on Doc, I think, is him really fully understanding Baby for the first time.
Yeah.
And yeah, no. So anyway, that was my point. So
okay, that makes sense. No, I like it.
Is basically no. Baby was not ever intending to betray Doc.
Fair. Okay. That works. That makes sense. But yeah, you could also argue that if Doc is Virgil, that also makes Baby Dante the poet. And his poetry is expressed in the songs that he makes out of other people's words.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, yeah, you didn't expect to see that in the Crazy Drive-A movie, did you?
Yeah.
Did you? I didn't. I didn't. It just it clicked to me, I'd say, at the end of this film. Like, oh, that's what's going on.
On this second watch.
Yeah. On the second time around watching it, I'm like, oh, okay, I see it now.
Yeah. And my pickup this time around was color theory. Baby is almost always in blue.
In a sense, calm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And the hard heel turn that I want to talk some about is the fact that very much John Hamm, excuse me, very much getting ahead of myself. Very much is Jamie Foxx's character Bats, who is very much a bad guy. He's unquestionably, they show him as part of two heists. The first heist, he's got some red on. In the second one, he is wearing this red vest. So he is very obviously the bad guy.
Yeah.
And you think that he and or Doc are going to be the antagonists.
Yeah. If this is hell, he's the devil.
Yeah.
Or at least he is supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's a hard turn at basically the beginning of the third act that he's out of the picture. I won't spoil how. I love how it was perfect. but he's out of the picture, and John Hamm's character takes a hard left turn into a bad guy. And up until this point, you like this guy.
Yeah.
He's a little nuts, but he cares about Darling, and he likes Baby.
Yeah.
And you like him for this.
If anything, he's an even better Lucifer figure because he is a fallen angel.
Yeah.
In more ways than one. He was once a respectable person, and now he's a cokehead and a criminal.
Yeah.
He is a fairly nice guy, but at one point in the film, he becomes irredeemably evil.
Yeah, because in the beginning, he likes Baby pretty much right away. And he's friendly with him, they chat, they make a connection, and you like this guy because of that. Because most of the criminals are very unsettled by Baby, but Buddy isn't. And Buddy sticks up for him, and he likes him, and even at one point, he thinks Baby's gonna run, and he's like, if you're gonna run, just run. And he's gonna let him go.
Yeah.
At that point. And then things go south, which I won't, get into how that happens, but, and he, like, the color theory related to him, like, when things go south and he realizes it, his head's right next to a brake light on a car, so red.
Yeah, and earlier in the film, his wife was giving this speech about him, talking about how he seems calm, cool, and collected, but don't get on his bad side.
You don't want to see him angry.
Yeah, and the important line is, when he sees red, you see black.
Yeah.
And essentially, when he does this heel turn, he is bathed in red almost the entire time for that period. Yeah. And something I noticed is that what ends up happening to Baby, which again I'm not going to say, but he ends up being someplace where instead of seeing black, everything is white.
Fair. Yeah. Yeah, that one good catch. I hadn't picked up on that one.
That's because I figured it out as we were sitting here talking.
Fair.
It just occurred to me as we were sitting here talking. The other guy sees red, but Baby does not see black. Baby sees white afterward.
Yeah. Yeah, it's again, man, Edgar Wright. We will get this one DVD on Blu-ray when it comes out, and we'll watch the hell out of this, because I think I will pick up something new and different every time I watch this movie.
Yeah,
because there's so much here. There's so much here. It's again a love of cars. There's a recurring theme. As an offer of escape, one between Deborah and Baby. One character offers escape to the other.
Yeah, and it's the same shot and it's the same positioning, but they keep being in different places. Yeah. In relation to one another.
Yeah, it's not always the same person offering escape. Yeah. Also, should definitely mention, Deborah is very much, she's a great character, well-rounded. She has agency. She's totally wound up in this criminal world through no fault of her own. Mm-hmm. But she holds her own, and she's a little bit of a badass.
Yeah. There's a scene at one point where Baby needs to run from the cops, and he says, "I've got to go," and her response is, "I'm going with you." Yeah. And she does. Yeah. She was not just there to get Baby to go to a particular location and kick off the third act of the film. She becomes integral to that third act and is consistently a part of that and actually, holds her own in many respects throughout. Yeah. Yeah. She's great. I can't stress enough. Like this, I hope she gets lots more work because she's awesome. Yeah. Oh, she was fantastic. Yeah. Also the gal who plays Darling, the other main female character in the she was fantastic. She was great. She was a lot of fun. Yeah, at one point they even make a meta joke about how a speech she gives, Jamie Foxx starts laughing and Clive says, "That's some Oscar shit right there." Yeah. And yeah, it is. It's one of those. If if this movie were a movie that the Academy would take seriously, that would be the speech that would sway a lot of votes.
Yeah.
Because the performance was so well done.
One of them.
Yeah.
One of them.
One of them, yeah.
Yeah. I'm trying to think. I feel like... I know I have more to say, but we should probably... I'm sure we've gone a while.
I just want to go back to the elevator thing.
Yeah, please.
The other thing is that Baby lives on the 3rd floor of his apartment building, and at one point Doc shows up. His foster father is in a wheelchair as well as being deaf.
Yeah.
And, Doc mentions something about it must be hard for him to get up all those steps to the 3rd floor. And Baby says there's an elevator right there. So Doc presses the button. They have a conversation. Doc leaves, and as he walks out, the elevator shows up. But Baby still takes the steps. Yeah. Very much his home is heaven in this particular metaphor. But instead of taking the easy way, he forces himself to take the hard way as a form of penance in many respects. He climbs the steps regardless.
Yeah.
And, of course, we all know that, he's trying to do the best that he can.
Yeah.
He cares about his foster father, but the road to hell is paved with good intentions.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's it. I think that phrase might have been running through Wright's head when he wrote this.
Yeah.
At least sometime in the past 20 years when he's been working on it.
Yeah. Also, another little thing is a major point of the movie is the fact that Baby has tinnitus. And side note, one of my all-time favorite movie lines, and I've tweeted about this, is the fact that he's described as having a hum in the drum, which love that line.
Yeah.
But also, if you pay attention to the soundtrack, every single time Baby has his earbuds out, the sound you get when you have a ringing in your ears is on the soundtrack to some degree. It's every time. I was paying very careful attention this time when we saw it, and it was incredibly consistent. And that, again, attention to detail, good on you, Edgar Wright. Oh my goodness. So, can you think of anything else?
Not off the top of my head. I want to see it again, immediately, because every time I watch this, I get more out of it, and I'm starting to see the connective tissue that ties it all together and makes it so interesting. Something that I've read online, apparently, Edgar Wright, one of the things with Baby is that he has a ton of iPods and a ton of pairs of sunglasses. And somebody asked Edgar Wright about, why is that? He said, well, think about it. What do people most often leave in their cars? And it's true. Baby was a car thief.
Yeah.
So, of course, he has a ton of iPods and a ton of sunglasses. They're all different.
Yeah. There's an awesome scene with John Bernthal where he's trying to provoke Baby, and he takes his sunglasses off his face and he's talking. Baby's in the background. There's a lot in this movie of action happening in the foreground and other action happening in the background that's not specifically commented on.
Yeah, Wright is a master of depth of field in a way that I haven't... I think probably the best example of it other than this is Night of the Living Dead, where depth of field is such an important part of how the emotion is done, and Wright does the same thing. Fair.
And it's in the foreground, so John Bernthal takes the sunglasses off Baby's face and puts them on, and, he's talking about, whatever. Doesn't really matter what he's talking about. And Baby just calmly pulls sunglasses out and puts them on his face. Whole other pair. No comment, nothing. Just, more sunglasses. And he changes sunglasses probably a good 10 times in this movie, I'd say.
Yeah, Bernthal goes over and smacks the sunglasses off his face, and a couple minutes later he pulls out another pair from a different pocket.
Yeah. Again, it's the little things that make this movie, and the big... this movie's a joy. It's just a joy. But the little things especially make it extra joyful. Love it.
Yeah.
I want it on Blu-ray now, because I want to watch it now.
Yeah. And we just saw it a couple of hours ago.
Yeah. It's... Oh.
Yeah. So yeah, that's all I've got to say on it for now. We could probably talk more, but it would start really dipping into the spoilers.
Yeah.
And we've probably
or
spoiled...
get very repetitive and gushy and
and we've probably spoiled enough and gushed enough at this point. So
see this movie. It's seriously, I have to say, honestly, I'm very interested to see what else Edgar Wright can do because I've liked he's a unique and interesting filmmaker. I don't know if he can ever top this one. Honestly, this movie is amazing.
It might be his Kill Bill.
It might be his Kill Bill.
Where he can make other good, even great films, but nothing on that level.
I'm gonna. You're gonna be hard pressed to impress me with something else. Yeah. I don't think he can make a better movie than this.
Yeah. As much as I liked the result, I am a little sad that we'll never get to see Edgar Wright's Ant-Man. And this movie just reminds me of that sometimes.
Agreed.
But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what he comes up with next.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah.
All right. So,
all right.
I think we're good.
So, as discussed,
I'm Karu.
and I'm Debbie. And Edgar Wright, my hat is off to you for this movie. This is one of my all-time favorites. See it, please.
Bye.